Coming on June 27th, 2017, Saban's Power Rangers hits home video in this Blu-ray, DVD, and HD pack. For more information, and if you want to support your favorite YouTuber, click on the link below. Hey, what's going on, everyone? My name is Matt Jarbo. This is 3 Buck Theater, and this is a very fun thing. So Kevin Feige, right? I love this dude. I really do. I love seeing him at Comic-Con every year. He's always full of enthusiasm. He clearly loves what he does, and he is clearly exceptionally good at what he does. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 is the Marvel Cinematic Universe's 15th film in 9 years. And it is on its way to possibly crack $1 billion worldwide. And that is insane because that kind of money is relegated for something like Civil War or the Avengers. But Guardians, ooh, it's a great film. So Feige is clearly getting asked lots of questions during all the press junkets, so on and so forth. And one of the questions came up about the deal with Sony. And how when Marvel was purchased by Disney back in 2010, Disney wasn't too happy with the fact that some of the key licenses were owned by other studios. Like, you know, Fox had X-Men and Daredevil, Sony had Spider-Man, you know, I think New Line had Blade. There was a few other, oh yeah, Lionsgate had The Punisher. There were a bunch of other, you know, licenses that were out there. And Blade went back to Marvel because New Line and Warner's didn't want to keep it. You had Punisher leave Lionsgate, go back to Marvel, which is now getting a TV series, I think in November. I don't know about you, but I'm hard as a fucking rock. I can't wait to see that thing. And then clearly Daredevil was with Fox. Fox chose to not pursue making films or using the character, and the rights reverted back to Marvel. Probably much to Fox's huge... Oh, they're probably regretting that shit given how popular the Daredevil series is on Netflix and what it spawned as a result in terms of the Defenders. I mean, there are people out there, there are more people out there probably excited to watch Daredevil Season 3 and the Defenders than maybe even wanting to see Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. Those series have diehard fans. But you look at Sony. You look at the Sony deal with Marvel. It's meant to be for 3 films. Sony has control over how to market the character in terms of their own films. But when it comes to bringing Spider-Man over to the MCU for, let's say, Infinity War and Infinity Gauntlet or whatever the 4th film is going to be called, then Marvel has control. But Kevin Feige, he has a grand plan, and this is what he has to say. He says, "My goal is to replicate the experience that comic book fans have been reading the books up on the screen, and we've been able to accomplish that beyond my wildest dreams over the last 10 years. And certainly, including Spidey in Civil War and the upcoming Infinity War, is yet another dream I didn't even dare talk about publicly, because I thought the odds were very slim. So no plans beyond that for a few remaining characters that aren't already in the MCU, but never say never. Who knows what can happen in the future?" Which is interesting to look at because that you can tell is Feige's goal. Feige and probably Bob Iger and the heads over there at Disney want these characters back. They want them back because they know how profitable it will be. They know how profitable it will be if they're able to get their hands on Spider-Man without having to share him with Sony. They know how profitable it will be if they're able to get their hands on X-Men without having to share it with Fox. But they're also not against making these deals. Now, let's also talk about that deal real quick, too. That deal was something that was in talks after The Amazing Spider-Man 2 in July of 2014. When that movie failed to connect at the level Sony wanted it to, never mind $709 million worldwide, but you know what, hey, fuck it. They were in talks, Amy Pascal and Kevin Feige, to bring over Spider-Man to the MCU for this deal, and it fell through. It fell through. No one knew about it until North Korea hacked Sony and released all those emails, and then we found out of this. And so now we are where we are. And I talked about this before, where I feel like Amy Pascal, who's kind of controlling Spider-Man for Sony through her production company, that deal that she made for herself before she had to basically get ousted for those racist emails about what kind of food Obama eats. You know, she's been setting up this kind of ancillary cinematic universe with the Spider-Man characters, Venom, Silver Sable, Black Cat. And I look at that as being something that's probably doomed to fail because it's not tied into the MCU, and us fans ain't stupid. We want these things to be connected. Feige wants these things to be connected, but he might have enough clout now to start making that happen. Okay, for the longest time, fans have been demanding that Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and the Daredevil stuff, the Netflix series, make their way over to the MCU or vice versa. And he's always been kind of like tiptoeing around it. And we know that it's a battle between LA and New York, the movie side of things and the TV side of things. We know this. And as a result, that battle might be coming to an end because of the clout that Feige has and the fact that Disney wants to make this as profitable and popular as humanly possible. And they're going to give Feige basically what he wants because he hasn't let them down yet. This dude is like the goose that laid the golden egg repeatedly. And until he starts to fuck up, which given what he's done thus far in 15 films, there's been some missteps along the way, but it's more better than not. Then you have got a situation brewing that could lead to the reacquiring of these characters sooner rather than later. And hear me out. So Sony right now, Sony Pictures Entertainment, are in dire straits. They just hired a new CEO to take over for Michael Linton, who left. And this guy has said that it's not for sale, not for sale, not for sale. But if they don't get good goings, if the Emoji Movie, if Dark Tower, and whatever the fuck else they've got coming out this year, they got one other thing coming out, doesn't do well, then they're going to find themselves in a similar situation that they were last year, where they had $1 billion write-down. And this would be perfect Spider-Man's the other movie they got coming. I don't even know why I forgot that. But Spider-Man's the movie that's coming out for them that's going to do well. We know Spider-Man's going to do well. But if the other ones don't do as well, Sony is not going to be able to just rely on the earnings of one film. And that could be a problem. And so here comes Kevin Feige with, Bob Iger in a checkbook saying, how much do you want for Columbia? Or how much do you want for Sony Pictures Entertainment? How much do you want? And we already know Sony, if in dire straits, will sell back parts of that shit to Disney. They did so a couple years ago by selling back the merchandising rights for Spider-Man to Disney when they found themselves in a kind of a bleak situation similar to where they find themselves right now. We know that this is what's going to be happening. And so think about that for Fox as well. I would say that Logan and Deadpool were the two worst things to happen to Feige in order to make the deal to bring everything back under, right? And it's true. Deadpool, for all intents and purposes, should not exist and be as good as it is. And I mean, by that, I mean, it's one of the best films from last year. Just yesterday, I was like, I got to watch Deadpool again. The movie's fucking fantastic. And Logan is a movie that, goddamn, that's so fucking good. And they did well. The box office did well. Critical response was well. Audience response was well. And it kind of reinvigorates what Fox wants to do with this franchise. Fox is doing the New Mutants. They've got the Dark Phoenix. They're listing off these projects that they want to be successful. But where's Bryan Singer on all of this? Bryan Singer has moved over to television with Matt Nix, who is a showrunner and creator on Burn Notice. And I don't know why Gifted isn't putting up Matt Nix's name more, considering the fact that Burn Notice was very, very, very popular. But they're giving all the credit, all the pre-release credit to Bryan Singer for putting this show together, even though I would assume that probably Matt Nix has a more fingers in the pie in this regard than Bryan Singer does. But they're banking on that, and The Gifted is in an actual collaboration with Marvel. So it's not just like they are, going around the MCU. This doesn't take place in the MCU, but it is working with them, and that might be bridging the gap. And the person who you got to look out for in that regard is very much going to be Simon Kinberg. Kinberg has deep ties over at Lucasfilm owned by Disney, Marvel owned by Disney. Lucasfilm is kind of the Joss Whedon over there at Fox for their Marvel stuff. And so you could kind of see like where things are going. Now, Fox has a vested interest in making sure its properties do well. But if X-Men Apocalypse is any indication of just like how much they can drop the ball on this thing, it could spell the end for that if these movies stop being profitable. We already know Fantastic Four is dead in the water. They're not going to do Fantastic Four 2. That would be coming out this summer. They'd already greenlit it. That's done. It's dead. It's kaput. That probably will find its way back to Marvel before X-Men will. Because Fox also had Daredevil and chose to not give Christopher McQuarrie the movie he wanted to make. No, sorry, not Christopher McQuarrie. It was Joe Carnahan. That's it. Sorry, I don't know why I got the two mixed up. But Joe Carnahan had an idea for like an R-rated Daredevil, and they passed on it, and the rights reverted back to Marvel, and now we have the show. So I'm thinking we could probably get Fantastic Four back in before getting X-Men, just because of the rights. And if X-Men starts to taper off, and if Deadpool stops it just doesn't do as well, or Fox finds themselves in a stickier situation, they might then find a way to work with Marvel before selling off to Marvel. And they already kind of have that relationship. So I would say Sony is probably going to sell the rights back or sell the full company back to Disney. I'm thinking that's what's going to happen. They're going to get so bad, they're just going to offload that to Disney, be done with it, which probably won't violate FAA rules. Or FTC, not FAA. I don't know why my brain's all over the place right now, but like FTC rules for monopolies, because Columbia and / Sony and Disney are part of like the top 6 studios, so they could probably merge them together, no problem. But Fox would probably be more akin to work with Marvel for producing films under the MCU banner if Spider-Man does well. So Feige's got some stuff a brewing. It won't happen anytime soon. We're talking 5-6 years, maybe, if not longer. And it all depends on whether or not the movies coming out do well. And by that, it's not just like the Marvel movies these other studios have. It's also everything else these other studios have. So it's going to be a bit of a long wait. But again, as these movies that Kevin Feige produces become more and more popular, become more and more profitable, that gives him more and more clout to do what he wants. And if that requires Disney to fork out a lot of money to get some of these characters back, Disney will probably do it because it's better for them in the long run. But what are your guys' thoughts on this? Do you think this is a possibility? Do you think this can actually happen? These are things I want to know. Go ahead and leave me a comment below. If you guys like the video, toss it a thumbs up. If you're new here, go ahead and slap on that subscribe button. I post new content pretty much every single day. I'll talk to you guys later. Have yourself a fantastic one, and peace out.